Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to pause probably for another 30 seconds, kind of let people log into the webinar today, and then we'll get started here in just a little bit. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today for a presentation on understanding certifications and registrations. Um, this webinar is going to be recorded, so if you want to hear it again, you'll receive a link to that. Also, you'll receive copies of the PowerPoint presentation that we'll be going through today. So um, let's just kind of jump into this. First, a little about who we are. We're the Apex Accelerator. We're formerly Procurement Technical Assistance Center, PTAX. Locally, we're administered by the Monterey County Business Council. Apex Accelerator program has been around since 1985, managed by the Department of Defense. There's actually 96 Apex Accelerator centers across the United States, and there's 7 within the state of California. I'll show you a map of where they're at here in California in a second. And the mission of all Apex Accelerators is basically to just promote economic growth and create employment opportunities in the local markets that they serve. And we do that by facilitating your access to the government marketplace. And although we're federally funded, it means the government marketplace at a local, state, as well as the federal level. So here's this map that I just mentioned. So we're this teal area in the middle of the state. So we're Central Coast, Central Valley. If you're in on this webinar and you're from one of the other colored areas, you can either reach out to us and we can kind of refer you to our colleagues at one of the other centers. But all of the Apex Accelerators have outstanding staff that are very knowledgeable and willing to help you out on your journey to government contracting. So these are the primary services that all Apex Accelerators provide. First and foremost, just one-on-one counseling, talking with you, learning about your business, what your goals are for government contracting, etc. In that process, there'll be some pre-award assistance. So we'll teach you how to go out and find the opportunities that are out there, help you review those notices that you'll find out online. Oftentimes when you first look at a solicitation, it may be 100 pages long. You can be overwhelmed by it, but we're here to kind of help you understand what it is you're looking at and reduce some of that nervousness you may have just in the length of some of these proposals. And capability statements, will help you put something like that together. We do a webinar just on capability statement. It's like a marketing tool that is sought after in the federal marketplace, and you're seeing a lot of adoption of capability statements in the state, as well with large primes that do a lot of federal work like to see capability statements from prospective subcontractors. Post-award assistance. So we can help guide you through maybe any kind of conflicts you may be experiencing once you've awarded a contract. Talk to you a little bit about debriefs or protests. Debriefing is, how they're important, how you can leverage those so that you can submit better proposals in the future. And the protests of really whether they make sense for your business or not. It's a whole topic in itself, but we can help you guide at that. Outreach events. So as we learn about outreach events out there in the marketplace, oftentimes we're there ourselves. Last week we were up in Stockton, California at the Get Connected event. We're brought together a lot of government entities and large primes that are active in San Joaquin County. So it's a great opportunity for businesses to meet with prospective customers, as well as take advantage of some of the training that was provided. With the trainings, a lot of these outreach events, we're there providing training. And then also, as you're here today, and a webinar format that seems to really work well, especially with the size of our service area. Bid matching. Bid matching is a service that we provide to our clients at no cost to you. Basically, what it is we use the services of a third-party vendor that we will work with you, create a profile, upload it into their system. Their system will automatically, once a day, will go out and search literally thousands of government websites looking for opportunities that match your profile. And then once there are matches, it'll just email them directly to you. So it'll save you the trouble of going to all these different websites and looking for things yourself. Certification programs. So this is what we're going to be primarily talking about today is, we help you navigate those. So after today's presentation, you still have more questions, reach out to one of us and we can help you, guide you along the ways. But again, we're going to be talking about woman-owned certification, disadvantaged business enterprise, service disabled, 8A. Oh, it says HubZone. That is a certification, but that's not one that we're going to be talking about today because it's the process is different. The requirements are different than these other certifications. What's great about this is that there's no fees or commitments. We're your tax dollars at work. This time, I'd like to introduce to you Sharon Mikesell with the Cal Coastal SBDC, who's a great strategic partner of ours, and they can help you in just growing your business.
Great. Thank you, Victor. As Victor mentioned, I am Sharon Mikesell. I'm currently the program manager at Cal Coastal Small Business Development Center. There's about 1,000 small business development centers nationwide. We are part of the Central California SBDC network, and SBDCs provide small businesses with one-on-one, no-fee business advising, training, access to comprehensive resources and information to help businesses in general to start, grow, and succeed. We provide financial education, business plan guidance, marketing tips that help businesses get started with government contracts of all sizes. And we find that many of our clients get started in government contracting as subcontractors or with contracts with cities, counties, and special districts. Of course, our services do complement Apex Accelerator services. We recommend signing up for both of our organizations, especially since Victor mentioned just now, there's no cost to you for either of these agencies to help you. And why? Because we have the support of our partners that include the U.S. Small Business Administration, the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, local partners that include the Monterey County Workforce Development Board, the Monterey County Business Council, the City of Salinas, and of course, our current host and small business lender, Cal Coastal Rural Development Corporation. If you're not already our client, visit the Central California SBDC website and click that little green Get Started button, and they'll start that process. Thanks for joining us today, and I'm going to toss it back over to Victor to start today's presentation.
Yes, SBDCs are a great resource for you, and oftentimes as we're working with you and learn more about your business, we may suggest that you go to them to, to help you maybe like put together a business plan or help you with market research or learning how to take advantage of social media, those types of things. So definitely keep them in mind. I mean, one thing about owning, operating your business and growing your business is constantly always learning. So we're here to help you. So let's just jump into this. Today, this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the primary registrations that are out there, other registrations, why get certified, and then primary certifications that are out there, the basic requirements. That's kind of a thing that you're going to see in this. That's why HubZone isn't included in this, because the basic requirements for all these certifications pretty much the same. So again, we're going to talk about the typical documentation that is required by these certifications. And we'll talk specifically about DBE certifications because they're somewhat different than the others. And then just get into some FAQs and then what certifications does and doesn't do for you as a business. So registrations, typically, when you are going to sell to the government, one of the first things you need to do is kind of register with them to actually be a vendor to them. So in the federal marketplace, you register to do business with the government through the system of award management. When you do that, it'll automatically create a profile for you in the Small Business Administration's DSBS stands for Dynamic Small Business Search. So it'll create a profile for you there. With the state has a system called Cal eProcure. It's managed by the Department of General Services. So if you want to sell to the state, that's where you go and you register your company. And it's one thing I'll say is with this, if you want to sell to the federal government and you want to get registered in the system for award management, suggest to you that you register with us as a client and then let us walk you through the steps of registering in the SAM system. It's not a very user-friendly portal. It's not intuitive, and then we kind of help you go through it so it's a little bit more seamless. Otherwise, it's really easy to kind of make a mistake in it, and then going back and correcting that mistake can just be a big time sucker upper. That's a technical term. Other registrations. So and these really vary, but you may see that these smaller governments like county, city, town, districts, large government contractors will have you register with them. In some cases, they don't have like a vendor database, but you always want to inquire if they do, because if they do have that, that's the first place that they're going to look for a possible vendor that they can work with. So now this kind of gets back to kind of the meat of what we're going to talk about, certifications. You know, why get certified? Well, the reason why is that in many cases that governments are looking to increase their spend with minority, women, veteran-owned businesses. In the state of California, by law can't say this contract will only be offered to say women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, but the law does allow local governments to give preferences. A set aside basically is when government is allowed to say, we're going to set aside this contract and only a specific socioeconomic group. So they might say only women-owned businesses can submit an offer on this contract opportunity, or we're setting aside for only veteran-owned companies. So that's what a set aside is. And again, what it really does is it really helps to shrink the competition. One thing though to understand is that even though it's set aside for, say, women-owned businesses, I mean, it just reduces the competition. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have any competition. Condition award. Now, oftentimes when the federal government in particular gives out a contract to a larger contract to a prime contractor, as a condition of the award, they'll have to meet certain goals for small business participation. So prime contractors are looking for subcontractors that are woman-owned, 8A, veteran, etc. So that's a great way again, and we'll talk more about that as we go in this presentation. Again, as I mentioned, if it's set aside for a certain economic group that you belong to, it's going to reduce competition. So rather than maybe competing against 100 firms, you may be only competing against 10 other companies. Reciprocity. So in some cases, if you're certified by one certifying body, another certifying body will accept it. It varies, but there is some good reciprocity that is out there. This last one I put in here, just lending package. The information, and we're going to talk about the documentation that's required later in this presentation. It's almost identical to what a lender is going to ask you for in you seeking to say get a line of credit or borrow some money. So it's a lot of information, and it's nice to just kind of keep a binder of all that so you have it at hand when you need it. So these are the primary certifications. So in the federal marketplace, you have the woman-owned certification, veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned, and then the 8A. You'll probably start seeing me using, or you'll hear people use these acronyms, WSB, VOSB, etc. With the 8A program, there's a asterisk there, and the reason there's an asterisk is because the 8A, it's an 8A program. It's a business development program that the documentation, the process of getting certified as an 8A is the same as getting certified for these other categories. But basically what it is you can be in the program for 10 years, and the government will set aside contracts specifically only for 8As. But after 10 years, or if your business exceeds the small business size standards, you graduate early out of the program. But that's the difference. These other certifications, as long as your business remains small, you could be, say, a woman-owned small business for 40 years or however long you're in business, as long as you maintain that status as being small. With the state is a little bit different. They provide certifications for a micro business, small business, disabled veteran business enterprise, which oftentimes is referred to as a DVBE, small business, public works, so basically construction, and then the disadvantaged business enterprise. And we'll talk a little bit more about the disadvantaged business enterprise, the DBE program. It's a little bit different than these others. Let's just go. So again, this is just a lot of the acronyms and what they mean. So you've got the MBE, WBE, DBE. There is this LGBTE, which you're starting to see more so in the private sector than in the government sector, but you're starting to see at least some preferences with some governments in the state of California for the LGBT community. So that's what that one is. And then again, you've got VOSB, veteran-owned, and service-disabled veteran-owned. One of the things that I'll mention too is that if a contract opportunity is set aside specifically for, say, one of these groups, even though you're a woman-owned business and it's a woman-owned set aside, you have to be certified and have the certification that that prospective customer wants you to have. If you're not certified, but even though you're legitimately, say, a woman-owned business, in this example that I'm providing, your offer will just be rejected because you're not certified. So that's why the certification is really important. I list these 3 bullet points down here. And again, these are all here are federal certifications. Actually, LGBTE is not a federal, I'm sorry. But these are NMSDC, stands for National Minority Supplier Development Council, Women Business Enterprise National Council. These are certifications that are done for the private sector. So basically your Fortune 500 corporations are actively involved and try to increase the amount of business they do with minority and women-owned businesses. So they also do certifications as well. And one of the things that I kind of just briefly mentioned is people will ask, which certification should I get? There's several out there. There's this WeBank one, there's one with the state, etc. And again, the answer is always the same. It's whatever one your customer wants you to have. This supplier clearinghouse is unique in what it is the California Utility Commission has required that all utilities that, I believe the number is, if they do over $5 million a year, they need to try to increase their spend with these various socioeconomic groups so that you can get certified through them as well. So so these are the federal certifications. So you've got your woman-owned, veteran-owned, service disabled, and then ADA. One thing about you can see here on the right column, it says who is the certifying entity for these. So SBA basically provides certifications for all these, but it's interesting in the sense that for the woman-owned small business certification, you can actually go through a third-party certifier that the SBA has. So you can see them listed there on the bottom. Women Business Enterprise National Council, National Women Business Owners Corporation, U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, and El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Now, these third-party certifiers all charge a fee for certifying your business, but if you go through the SBA and there's no fee there, what we've been hearing, and this was confirmed last week when we were in Washington, D.C., is that it's taken anywhere from, say, 6 months to a year to get certified as a woman-owned small business, doing it only through the SBA. The way it works with these third-party certifiers is you go into SBA's portal and you provide basic information, but then what you do is the certificate that you get from these third-party certifiers that they certify you, you upload that into your system, and then SBA then will provide that approval and post on their Dynamic Small Business website that you're a certified woman-owned small business, or if you're a really small one, an disadvantaged woman-owned small business. So with the state certifications, again, I mentioned them earlier, but these are the ones that they have: micro, small business public works, disabled veteran business enterprise. One thing about the certifications is that for the federal, they all have to be small, and the business needs to be small based upon the Small Business Administration's, the SBA's small business size standard. With the state of California, they have a different small business size standard, and basically it's about half of what the federal government is. But on their website, you can see what the sizes are. And then of course the state also has this disadvantaged business enterprise. I'll talk more about that one. And similar to that one is this one, this ACBBE, airport concessions. So when you're at the airports, because they're managed by FAA, they're required to try to increase the diversity of the vendors who sell goods and services inside the airport. So just again, a brief thing about private sector certification. And I mention these because, again, it's probably better for your business as far as stability and those types of things if you sell to the government as well as selling to the private sector. So oftentimes, if you're successful at selling to the private sector, it makes it easier to sell to the government sector and vice versa. So again, it could be advantageous too. So again, and this is just kind of a chart that just kind of shows you who does it. So you can see here, but one thing I can point out is, like, here you have an MBE that is done by the Supplier Clearinghouse, and this is only applies to state of California. If you got certified by the NMSDC, that actually is a nationwide certification. And then same thing here. This is this Veteran Business Enterprise, and it's the National Veteran-Owned Business Association. And again, the primary certifier for women-owned businesses is WBAG. They're modeled after NMSDC, but again, you always want to inquire with your potential customer of which one is important to them. You may have one and they say, well, that's great, but we'd like you to have this one. And part of the reason behind that is that they may have some of their employees on the boards of some of these organizations, et cetera. So that's why they may prefer one over the other. So this just kind of gives you some little idea. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but one of the things that in the federal certifications that they look at is personal net worth. And so again, they all need to be small. You can see there, number one, it says by SBA small business size standard. Personal net worth does come into account for women-owned small business, and then the 8A. Again, the SBA has this economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, so it has a lower personal net worth threshold there. And then personal assets. This one can be confusing, but basically what it means is if you're worth a lot of money, that could exclude you. And then with personal net worth, it's really important to realize that, and that's what if you look here at number 2, it does not count all the money you have invested in your business, the equity you have in your primary residence, and then any kind of money that you may have, like in a pension plan or something like that, where there'd be a significant penalty for an early withdrawal. So you take all those things out, and typically it's pretty easy to come underneath this 750,000 personal net worth threshold. But I've seen where sometimes people can't get past this is that they maybe have a second, like a rental property or vacation home or something like that, or they inherited a piece of real estate from, say, a parent or something like that, that kind of pushes them over the top. This is important to look at, is that in some of these certifications, you can be a legal resident, but in some cases, you must be a citizen. So that's important to note. And then again, with fees, typically there are no fees, but again, if you're using one of these third-party certifiers for women-owned small businesses, there is a fee. Typically, the way they do it is if they do it by the annual sales revenues of the company. So depending on how big your company is, it's like a sliding scale. And this is just more of what this comparison matrix. I'm not going to spend much time on that. Again, here's these private sector certifications. So again, you can see that some of this stuff like legal resident, whether that applies or not, fees. Yes, you can see here. So you can just take a look at this on your own. DBE certification. Now, DBE certification, as I mentioned earlier, in the state of California, the state used to be able to say, this contracting opportunity is only available to, say, certified woman-owned businesses or certified minority-owned businesses. Back in 1996, a law was passed by the voters that said, we're going to do away with affirmative action programs in the state. However, the DBE certification is actually the United States Department of Transportation certification, and the US DOT gives money to every state for transportation construction projects. So each state is required to have a DBE program. And the state departments of transportation, in this case, Caltrans, is the one who manages the program, and they are the ones who maintain the directory of the certified DBE firms. Now, each state is given the flexibility to sort of manage their DBE program how they see fit under certain guidelines. So what Caltrans has done is to make it easier for small businesses. They've helped to create this unified certification program that I'll talk more about, so that there are various entities beyond Caltrans that actually can do the certification for you that'll get your company into that Caltrans DBE directorate. The most part about all this, though, is that the DBE really, it applies to construction, and it's highways, roads, railways, airports, that type of construction stuff. So if you're not involved in those industries, it probably doesn't make much sense for you to really go out and get DBE certified. Doesn't eliminate you from trying to sell your products or services to say Caltrans or something like that. And typically the way this works is that Caltrans basically submits a goal to USDOT for how much they'd like to spend with DBE companies. And then what they do is when they have projects, they then, as a condition award to the prime who's awarded the contract, will say, this project has a goal of 15%, 20%, 5% of DBE participation. So then it's the prime's responsibility to utilize DBE firms as subcontractors to help Caltrans meet that goal. This term here, commercially useful function, you'll either hear about it or see that CUF. It's really important in that the DBE firm needs to perform a commercially useful function. What does that mean? It means that if I'm the DBE firm and the prime needs, say, some concrete work done, I can't just go hire a concrete company, send them out on the job site. They do all the work, and then, you know, I take my cut and invoice the prime for it. Because then that's considered that I'm not providing a commercially useful function. You know, I need to have my own employees out there doing some of the work. It's okay if some of the work I sub it out, but it has to be a common practice in construction industry of some of the work that you might be subbing out. But again, you need to be doing the work yourselves. That's why, like, if you're a broker, as basically you won't get certified. And this is important to note, not all projects will have a goal or condition of award. The Caltrans team does a good job of looking at projects. They understand that the location of where the project might be. They can look in the directory and see, you know, how many DBE firms are out there. So they may say, you know, this project, let's not even put a goal on it, but there'll be another project that is in a location where they know that there's a lot of DBE firms, a lot of opportunities, so the goal may be higher. Again, it's most advantageous for subcontractors. So the way this program was designed a long time ago in the 1980s, it was designed so that large primes would subcontract work to DBE subcontractors. This is important to note, is when you set up your profile, submit for certification, is include all the pertinent NAICS codes that you can perform. When I'll show you some NAICS codes here in a minute, but it's important to know that, again, include all of them, because again, there's been practices in the past where a prime will award a contract to a company, and that company actually has no experience in that specific NAICS code. So then the prime contractor says, well, I had to, you know, cancel that contract with them and self-perform the project ourselves. So that's why it's really important that any NAICS codes you qualify for, you list those. So I talked earlier about this CUCP, the California Unified Certification Program. And basically what it is you can see all these other entities. You know, it's led by Caltrans, but You can get certified through the city of LA, Los Angeles Metro, BART, city of Fresno, etc. One of the things that is required when they do a certification for a DB program is the certifying entity will do a site visit. So they'll actually come to the place of business, look around, ask questions, etc. And so it might be easier for you to get certified by, say, if you happen to live in your business is in Fresno, it might be faster for you to get certified by the city of Fresno because the nearest district office may be, further away, that it just might slow down the process a little bit. But again, all these entities are part of the CUCP program. Again, I'll just mention these private sector corporations because, again, sometimes there's just good opportunities for you to maybe sell the products or services that you sell to corporate America, as well as the other, say, like in NMSDC's case, the other minority companies that are parts of the organization. Again, there's a fee for their certification. There's all these certifications from the private sector. They're good for 1 year, and then you've got to pay another fee for the subsequent year. Typically, the way they do it is that for the first year that you get certified, where there's a deep dive into the documents you submit to them, there's a higher fee, but the renewal fee is less because it's just a matter of them basically just collecting your money. And then with NMSDC, they have regional chapters, local members, a lot of networking events, training events. So it might be just a good way for you to network with other businesses to either sell to them in addition to you trying to sell to the government. So take a look at them. Likewise, WeBank, same thing. National organization, regional chapters, good networking, training events. One thing with WeBank and NMSDC is that, if you're a minority business owner, you're probably a little bit more committed to trying to do more business with other minority owned businesses, just knowing how much of a challenge it is. So that may be a good way for you to generate some sales, create some past performance that's going to be asked of you when you're submitting offers to the government. So here's this supplier clearinghouse. Again, it was authorized by the California Public Utilities Commission. And again, it applies to all utilities: electric, gas, water, wireless, telephone corporations. Okay, that's the number. It's $25 million. I had mentioned 5 million. So again, you think of the AT&Ts, the Verizons, all those companies, as well as PG&E. They all have these what they call like a supplier diversity goals and teams that are constantly out there. So again, take a look at that. It might be worth your time and might be even easier for you to sell to one of these companies, which again makes you more attractive when you're trying to sell to the government. So let's kind of get into some of this, because this is the part that's really important when the analysts start reviewing your application. So basic requirements is that you need to be either a citizen or legal resident. And again, as we saw, it varies. At least 51% of the business needs to be owned by an individual or individuals that are part of that socioeconomic group. So you can have multiple owners, but at least 51% needs to be owned by those individuals. Again, pretty much all these certifications are for the government. There'll be a small business size standard, and again, it varies. It'll vary depending on the type of industry that you're in. Federal government, they either use the number of employees or the annual sales revenues of the company. And then with the California, it's about half of what the federal government considers a small. This part is really important, control. And we're going to talk about each one of these here in a second. and then the personal net worth that I touched on earlier. So let's just kind of jump into this. So with ownership, like I mentioned, you can have multiple owners, but at least 51% needs to be owned by disadvantaged individuals. It's important that every owner that owns at least 10% of the firm must provide individual tax returns and financials. So I've seen in the past where somebody kind of has some owners that kind of like silent owners, don't really participate a lot. They're more like investors, but they don't want to share their financials. So that company can't be certified unless those individuals are willing to do that. And then if applicable, no owner can have a personal net worth more than is permitted. So again, say you have three owners, two that own, say, 80% of the business, the other owns 20%, and basically it's just like a silent partner to help finance the company. But if that third owner has a personal net worth that is higher than those thresholds that you saw earlier, say 750,000, then the company can't be certified. And then control. So this is the part that trips a lot of people up as well, is you can have a disadvantaged and non-disadvantaged who can own a company jointly. Again, the disadvantaged person needs to own at least 51%. But it's really important that that disadvantaged person really controls the company. And so one of the things that we see is that oftentimes you'll have like a husband and wife who own a company jointly. 51% is in her name, 49% in his name. But if it's a business that requires a license, oftentimes what we'll see is the license is in the husband's name, not in the wife's name. And the way that the culture of these certifications is that the certifying agency will basically feel that the person who controls the company is the one who has the license. So like the company wouldn't survive without it. We know that there's a lot of husband-wife teams that the wife kind of wears the pants, and without her, the business wouldn't be successful. But if the license isn't in her name, more than likely it's not going to be certified. There's a little bit more flexibility on that when the husband and wife aren't involved. So say it's the wife, a female owns, say, a business and has hired, say, a general manager to run it. That may be considered okay. So it's a case-by-case basis that they'll look at it. And a disadvantaged person must also hold the highest office as outlined in the company's governance documentation. They'll want to see, like if a company is incorporated, the articles of incorporation, they'll want to see in there who's shown as the CEO, etc., those types of things. So we'll get into a little bit more detail of the documentation, but again, they want to make sure that somebody just maybe even has the title of president or CEO, but does their resume really reflect that they know how to operate this kind of a business. So personal net worth, again, I mentioned it excludes any money you have invested in the business, excludes your primary residence, and it doesn't include any kind of retirement fund where there's a significant penalty. You can see that there's a difference. So with the DBE program, the personal net worth has to be less than 1.3 million, whereas with the 8A program and say woman-owned business, it's 750,000. Eligible minority groups. So I want to just kind of touch on this a little bit, that you hear this term as an example, African American, and the way it is that it only applies to individuals, like if you're an immigrant and you've come from Africa, sub-Saharan African. It doesn't include countries like Egypt, Morocco, Libya, any of those Mediterranean, even though they're part of Africa, it does not include that. Likewise with Asian American, Asia does not include Russia, Afghanistan, Iran, any of those countries. It basically only it's like Korea, Japan, China, India, etc. Pacific, then you have your Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Native American, Alaska Native, and Hawaiian. So those are the eligible ones. We have somewhere where you can actually see a list of all the countries, but talk to us and we can kind of tell you whether or not you qualify or not. I know like it gets confusing, like you have India is okay, Pakistan is okay, but once you go into Afghanistan, all of a sudden those countries west of that are not considered Asian American. So this is the typical documentation, and it's a long list of things. And again, with all these certifications, they're very similar, but there can be subtle differences in what they're going to ask for. But for the most part, this is what every certification application is going to ask you for. If it's a minority certification, they're going to want proof of your minority status. So they're going to want to see like a birth certificate that shows your something that indicates that you're a minority, or your passport that shows that maybe you were born in a certain country. Sometimes say if you were born in the United States, it may not be on your birth certificate. So you may have to get a copy of the birth certificate of your parents, that on your parents' birth certificate, it shows that they were part of a minority group. So that is one thing. Financials. So they're going to want to see financials on your business. And typically what that is, they want to see year-end financials. Some cases it's 2, some cases it's 3 years going back. And then typically they're going to ask you also for a financial statement that's current within about 45 days of applying for the certification. They're going to want to see tax returns on the business, as well as tax returns on the individuals that are part of this socioeconomic group. And again, tax returns, financials, if anyone owns at least 10% of the company, they're going to have to provide those. Articles of incorporation, formation, if it's a LLC, that we want to see bylaws, and then minutes. Typically in articles of incorporation and bylaws, they'll be say something that there will be like an annual shareholders meeting and stuff like that. Oftentimes we see where it's just a small privately held corporation that, you know, there's one person that owns all the shares, but the bylaws reflect there's supposed to be minutes. And how do you have like a meeting with yourself? But if it says that, you need to provide minutes. So we can kind of help you work through that. Again, they're going to want to see business license, especially a license, like if you're a contractor or something that requires a license of some sort, they want to see that. Personal net worth statement, bank signature card, or a letter from the bank basically saying these are the individuals who have permission to write checks for the company. That's what they're looking for there. And then resumes. So they're going to want to see resumes of, you know, the primary management team of the company, but more specifically, the person that's claiming that disadvantage. Again, they want to see by this resume that that person has the technical knowledge to run the business. And then if you have a lease or loans, those are things that they're going to want to see as well. They want to see the lease agreement, loan agreement, etc. Source of initial investment. And then again, if you're a corporation, they want to see copies of stock certificates and a stock ledger. So it's not uncommon that a company has been incorporated, but the owners never even bothered to make stock certificates. But again, we can kind of help you with that too. But it's required. If you're incorporated, they're going to say, okay, your application is incomplete because you didn't supply us with copies of stock certificates. NICS codes, I mentioned this. NICS codes is a North American Industrial Classification System. You can see that how they progress. They max out at 6 digits. So this one just happens to be highway, street, and bridge construction. But this is where you go on the census's website. You can see the actual address there on the bottom of this, where you can just type in like a keyword there. Or if you just maybe know the 2 or 3, and we can help you with this too. Sometimes this can be hard because the keywords can be a little bit more difficult. Something we can help you find your NAICS code faster than you wasting a bunch of time. So just reach out to us. But this is one thing I wanted to show you is how you can see this 237310 NAICS code has all these different kind of subcategories to it. Bridge deck and bridge construction, concrete pavement, culverts, guardrail, all this kind of stuff. So this 237310 is just the overall one for bridges, highway, etc. But you can drill down even further. Got this bullet point down here. It says NAICS codes and tax returns. You may not even know it, especially if you're just kind of like a lot of people just having an accountant or a bookkeeper or a tax preparing company prepare your taxes for you. But on that tax return for your business, it asks for a NAICS code, and it's just for information gathering purposes. But it's not uncommon that the person that preparing those taxes just kind of haphazardly puts a code in there, but that code is actually incorrect for the type of business that you have. So you want to make sure that the code that that person is using is the correct code for your business. Because I've seen where the SBA will come back and say, well, your tax returns don't match up with the NAICS codes that you say that you're qualified in. So make sure that and then the tax preparer can correct the error that they've made. So here's some just frequently asked questions that we get asked a lot about certifications. Everybody wants to know, how long does it take? So part of it is, you saw that laundry list of all these documents that you need to get, tax returns, financial statements. Again, if you're seeking to get like a minority certification, you may have to get a copy of your parents' find your birth certificate, take a look at it. Maybe information isn't there, so then you got to go get a hold of your parents and get theirs. So it may take a while for you to just kind of gather all this stuff. Just like, again, do you have a stock certificate and a ledger and meeting minutes? So even though once you get all that together and you send it off, in most cases, it takes about 60 days, could be less, could be a little bit longer to get certified. Again, the woman-owned small business certification through the SBA is taking anywhere from 6 months to a year to get that. So that I know, again, because we discussed this last week, and that's how long it takes. So it's your decision of whether you want to spend a little money, get it through one of those third-party certifiers, and then by getting certified by one of these third-party certifiers, you become a member of their organization. So again, then it gives you access to their trainings, webinars, networking events with potential customers, etc. So it might be, worth the money. Do I have to be in business for a certain length of time? The answer to that is most cases no. But with the SBA, they 8A certification, they say that you need to be in business at least 2 years in order to apply. That is a misstatement. because what it really means is because the 8A certification, the 8A program is a business development program. So it's to help you grow your existing business. So what the 2 years actually means is that you can show them that your company has been profitable in the 2 years prior to you applying to get into the program. So again, you can form your business and just sit on it, do nothing. Doesn't mean really you've been in business for 2 years. I missed this one. What percentage of ethnicity do I need to qualify as a minority? The answer to that is if one of your grandparents is a member of minority group, then you qualify. So again, per that, you may have to get someone else's birth certificate to be able to prove that. Do you recommend paying someone to prepare my application? The answer is no, because the big thing is you got to go out and collect all those documents. Anybody you would pay doesn't have access to those documents. I mean, all that they would do for you would be go online and upload those documents. So you can do that yourself. You don't need to be paying anybody to do it. If a fee for certification is required, do I get my money back if I'm denied certification? And the answer is no, because it takes time for someone to carefully go through all the documents you submitted, review them. And so if they reject you, then, they put in a lot of time and effort in doing that. So you do not get your funds back. Typically, though, if your certification is rejected, you do have a right to an appeal. So keep that in mind. I know I worked with a client that applied to the 8A program. As I mentioned, you needed to show 2 years of profitability. When they looked at their financials, especially the current 45-day financial statement, it showed that they had a lot of receivables. And this company was actually averaging about $8 million a year in sales revenues. So they got denied because of that. But in the length of time that they had submitted their application, and then when they got the denial, which was about 2 months, they'd collected a bunch of these receivables. And so they went back and said, well, our financial position is much better than it was 2 months ago. So they were approved. So you can appeal it. And one thing too, per all this, as much as they ask you for a lot of documentation, they can always ask you for more to help them make a decision. Are brokers eligible? And the answer to that is no. It goes back to that commercially useful function. So basically, brokers aren't eligible. Reciprocity. There is some out there where, like, a good one is that Supplier Clearinghouse. If you get certified by WeBank or NMSDC, I believe even if you get certified by Caltrans as a DBE, Supplier Clearinghouse will accept that so that the utility companies can count the contract that they have with you as contributing to their goals. Can a franchise business be certified? For the most part, the answer to that is no. Probably in over 95% of the time, the answer is no, because the franchise or has too much control over the franchisee. There are some franchises where there's a little bit more flexibility, but the vast majority of them, the franchisor has too much control over it. One of the things that we tell people is that if you're not sure, the only way you're really going to find out is if you go through this process of submitting all the documents and submitting an application, and then wait to see what they tell you. So again, we can't tell you for sure whether you can get certified or not. If there's some kind of gray area, only the certified entity can make that determination. And which certification is best? Whichever one your potential client wants you to have. So you may have one and they say, hey, that's great, you've got that one, but we don't care. We'd like you to have this one. So, talk to your potential customers of which one they'd like to see you have. This is a good slide. What certification does and doesn't do. All it does, it shows that you've been certified. It just shows that, you're at least 51% owned by one of these socioeconomic groups. What doesn't it do? It doesn't guarantee you any contracts. So remember that, you can get certified, and a lot of people go through all the trouble of getting certified. The certification never does them any good. Doesn't guarantee doesn't guarantee you any access to decision makers. Certainly, governments as well as corporations are out there, outreaching to small and disadvantaged businesses, but oftentimes the person that you meet is not the actual person that's going to make a decision on whether you get a contract or not. So it'll be part of the equation when they do their evaluation, but it's not the most important factor that they'll be looking at. It doesn't make you more attractive to a lender or a surety. A surety is basically a bonding company. And it doesn't guarantee if you get one certification they qualify for others. I say that because I've seen companies that have been able to get an SBA 8A certification, but haven't been able to get a DBE certification, which is done by the state. So most cases though, if you get one, that means you can get another one, but not always. And with that, these are all various websites. So again, this one here, size standard. So if you're unsure about your size standard, you can go here to this website, and sometimes it's easier to look at the table to find the NAICS code that applies to you, or help you get closer to what you're looking for, and then pop that into census.gov to really get to the details. Okay. Oh, and then takeaways. Okay. So one of the things that is really important is that, people want to get certified, but we always tell them, determine if there are set asides for your industry. So if you go into, like in the federal government, if you go into sam.gov, that's where they're posting all their contracting opportunities. So you can set up a search in there to say, this is the industry that I'm in, and I want to search by my industry and to see whether or not they're setting aside opportunities for women-owned businesses. Run that search, and if you don't see any opportunities that or awards that were given based upon that certification, more than likely you're just not going to ever see it in the future. The way it works is that federal agencies have goals that they need to meet, but they like certain industries better than others. That makes it easier for them to hit their goals. So again, you want to go in there and do that first, versus you go through all this hassle of gathering all these documents and submitting them, and then find out that it really never did you any good. Remember that certifications are similar, but there are slight differences. Kind of like some you can be a legal resident, and others you've got to be a citizen. The personal net worth stuff is different. Again, remember that the certifiers can always ask for more information. So keep that in mind. And that's a good thing. Rather than just deny you, they say they want more information. This one, clearly, certification doesn't guarantee you a contract. So remember that. And I mentioned this a couple times already. Whichever certification your client wants is the best. And this last one is really important, is you want to sell your value proposition, not your socioeconomic status. So when you're meeting a potential customer, first thing that comes out of your mouth needs to be about what it is you do, how you're going to save them money, time, etc. Then at the very end, you say, oh, by the way, I happen to be woman-owned. certified business or veteran owned or something, rather than saying, oh, I'm a woman-owned small business. Because you do that and that immediately turns off whomever you're speaking with. So with that, I'll take any questions people have. These are upcoming webinars. Understanding IDIQs. IDIQs stands for Indefinite Delivery, Indefinite Quantity Contracts. So a lot of contracts, more and more so, you're seeing those where the federal government is giving these multi-year contracts. It just helps to streamline things for them. So I'll help you understand those. And then on December 13th, talk about subcontracting, teaming strategies to grow your business. So we're going to be talking about subcontracting, teaming, joint ventures, mentor protege programs, that kind of stuff. So both of those are really good topics. So with that, I see a couple questions in the Q&A. Again, I'll mention that you will get copies of this linked, so you can see this presentation again, as well as a copy of all the slides. And again, anything that I've covered, just reach out to your counselor and they can, provide you more details on anything that we've talked about today. So somebody asks, so somebody says, what do you recommend to get certified in being a new business just starting out? So if you're a new business just starting out, I would say don't even bother with getting certified. I say the most important thing that when you're trying to sell to anybody is they want to know, who have you sold this product or service to in the past? And when you're selling to the government, oftentimes that'll be part of the proposal that you're responding to. Is they'll say, give us examples, give us 3 references of customers that you've sold this product service to within the last 5 years. And that's one of the most important things. The fact that you can claim that you're certified as a woman-owned business, minority, veteran, that's just a small evaluation factor. Again, even if something is set aside specifically for a certain socioeconomic group, it's the company that's going to show that they have good references of whom they've sold things to in the past is more than likely going to be the one that is going to be awarded the contract. That's why I mentioned earlier, sell your value proposition, not your certification. Oops. All right. Nobody else has any questions? Those were 2. Like I said, reach out to us. We're here to help you. Anything we ever cover in these webinars, a lot of times it's the first time you may see it, and then just reach out to us and we can kind of take a deeper dive on anything that you may have further questions on. So just reach out to us. I'll let you guys go. I've kind of went over a little too long here. So thank you very much. And then hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks talking about indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts, IDIQs.